Alright, my name is Chris Riley, and today I'll be refuting Matthew McMaster's claim that the Bowl Championship Series fails to choose a clear and accurate national champion. To define the Bowl Championship Series again for you guys, or BCS as I'll call it the rest of the time, it's the NCAA sanctioned way that the national champion of college football is chosen. Matthew's claims were that BCS methodology is fundamentally flawed, that conference agreements with BCS favor certain teams, and that examples from history and expert criticism further demonstrate the ineffectiveness of the BCS. In response to Matthew's claim that the computer ranking system does not choose the best teams, out of the 12 years that the BCS has been in power, 9 times they've picked a champion that was undisputed by AP polls, and that includes the last 6 years in a row. 3 of the sources that he cited are from 2004, a year after the AP poll had produced conflicting results with the BCS, and it has not been conflicting since. Another thing he said was that bias by voters influences who gets to play major bowl games. American Football Coaches Association Executive Director Grant Tief presented the results of a survey of all 120 Division I-A coaches during a meeting on Tuesday, January 12th of this year. And the results showed that 73% of coaches want to keep the current BCS system the way it is, and that 96 of the 120 want to maintain the final coaches poll voting for the BCS champion number 1. The voters may be biased, but they're all biased in their own ways, and a large majority of them do not have a problem with it. It's something that's inevitable for this kind of thing, and the people that are all the biggest experts on it, in a large majority, agree with it. On his second big claim is that conference agreements with the BCS favor certain teams, and his first sub-claim for this was that money issues get in the way. And a lot of this is very conspiracy theory based, it kind of is taken into a mode of accusing the BCS of being like an evil money-making machine that intentionally takes out the little guy. But in the end, the core numbers are, money-based decisions are inevitably going to be made in anything. Overall, it's a thing for making money, and it's hard to dispute the numbers there. And his argument that certain schools are eliminated because of their size uses Notre Dame as a example of a team that gets guaranteed money. But this is not because of the size or any kind of conspiracy behind it. It's just because Notre Dame is an independent team and acts as their own division of that. And his third claim was that examples from history and expert criticism further demonstrate the ineffectiveness of the BCS. And his first claim about split titles and controversy, one example that he brings up is that Boise State and TCU were ranked higher than their competitors, but went to a less significant bowl. And this doesn't seem like much of a controversy, figuring that the TCU coach Gary Patterson and the Boise State coach Chris Peterson both said that they agree with the BCS and their methodology, and talked about it openly in the meeting that I was talking about earlier of last month, this year. And his final claim was a quote from Obama and talking about Congress. And while President Obama and Congress are very intelligent and knowledgeable people, I think everyone would agree that college football is not exactly where their expertise lies. So as far as it being expert criticism, I don't think that President Obama has very much expert criticism on college football, while his opinions and everything else may be very strong. It's not a very strong foundation for this argument. So in conclusion, Matthew McMaster did not give an efficient and convincing argument that the BCS does not succeed, or that the BCS does not succeed in choosing a clear and accurate national champion. Thank you.
All right, the presentation's pretty effective in the way, the tone and the way you speak to the audience. I think that adds to your credibility, in addition to the consistency with which you cite the structure. So all of the organizational things are pretty sound, as well as the delivery. I think you start off pretty well on that first point with the information about the degree of consistency between the polls and the BCS in terms of rankings. I thought that was pretty effective. And then the time distance between the last time that there there was a difference of opinion. The thing that was popping into my head immediately, though, was all those teams that have ended up in the situation where they didn't get a chance to compete because they had the same records, but they ended up in a different bowl as opposed to the BCS Championship Bowl. And then you did talk about the current issue as an illustration of that. For example, or what was the most recent example, Boise State and TCU, and I thought that helped a bit on that point. Supporting the coaches, I think, is a good counterclaim on this issue, and I think you could also apply that to the notion that there is some kind of bias or problem here. I think that if the coaches support the policy and they largely agree with the way it works and the consensus and the results, that diminishes the notion that somebody's getting screwed under there. And then I think the illustration, your citation could be a little bit clearer on it, that the coaches from TCU and Boise State both agreed that they were in the right kind of bowl situation. I know the fans might not have agreed, but that's why I think the quote needed to be more specific. If you're in France, it's Notre Dame. If you're in the U.S. and you're talking about the football team, it's Notre Dame. So just the pronunciation thing's bugging me a little. Sorry. All right, thank you.